Good morning, students. In 2 days of class 9, our topic is types of meristematic tissues. In the previous class, we have started plant tissues, and we have seen how the plant tissue classified. Mainly the classification, we have seen that depending upon the type of the cells, functions, origin, etc., etc., all these factors related with the basis of classification. The two major classes of the plant tissue are the meristematic and permanent. We in the previous section discussed about the different characteristic features of the meristematic tissue. Once again, I would like to recap some important points in regard to the meristematic tissue. That's why you may rejoin this topic. What are those points which we have discussed in our previous class? We have discussed that meristematic tissue are such type of tissue of the plant having the cells which are active, premature, and will divide. And when a cell will divide, why a cell will divide? The cell will divide to increase the number of cells. When there will be increment in the number of cells, what will happen? The shape, the volume, the size of the organism will be increased. That means the division of cell directly related with the growth of the different parts of the body. Here this fact is also true in case of the plant, and this tissue is based on that type of cells which have the ability of cell division, and that is why these tissues are mainly occur in those places which are considered as the growing parts, growing regions of the plant. So now in this regard we have discussed this one in the earlier part, and also we have seen that such type of tissue made up by the living cells, their cell wall is thin, there is a dense cytoplasm and a prominent nucleus, there is a no vacuole, and if there is a vacuole, that is very smaller. And after knowing this fact, now in 2 days lesson we will start types of meristematic tissue. Here with the help of diagram you have to understand about the different types. Number 1 type is here apical meristem, number 2 is here intercalary meristem, and number 3 is here lateral meristem. And the description is here apical meristem. It is the apices and the tips of the plant, and at the tips of the plant, that means growing tips, and these growing tips, and at this place there are presence of apical meristem. Similarly, not only the stems region but also in the part of the roots and growing young leaves where the such type of tissue present. It is responsible for the growth and elongation of roots and stem, hence it increases the length of plant. It mainly related with the elongation of the plant part. Now, the second important type of the meristematic tissue is intercalary meristem. Intercalary meristem, it is located at the base of leaves and twigs and at the base of internodes. The second important types which we have seen that related with the growth of the branches and twigs of the plant, as because these are mainly present on the base of the leaves, on the basis of the nodes. That is why it mainly related with the growth of those different parts which may you see here. Just this diagram I draw for to interpret the diagram which has shown the different three types of tissue, but here you may get some more information and that will close to you that different parts. Somewhat you may be closer, like you have here seen the shoot apical. Here that is the apical, the first type of meristem, apical. The first type of meristem, apical, here the shoot part, that is the stem tips which you seen in this case, and buds. So, this is the location, and the intercalary mainly present at the base of the internode. This is the node and this is the node, 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 and the places between the two nodes is the internode. The space between the two nodes are the internodes. The intercalary is mainly present at the basis of the internodes. So, that is why it also helps in the elongation of nodes and internodes. So, this is the second type. The third type is here the lateral meristem. Lateral, here may you also can write like the presence of, just you have written here shoot tips apical. Here may you write the root tips, and here also apical meristems present. Understand? Here also apical meristem present. As you seen in the location of the apical meristem, it occurs root tips and the shoot tips. Here is also and here is also. That is why it mainly related with the elongation of the stem as well as the root, that means all along the plant body. And here the from the node and between the two nodes where there is a presence of internode, the internode part of the stem, these are all related with the growth of the branches of the plant and twigs of the plant. That is why it is mainly related with the that is why here it is written its cells grow fast and change into permanent tissues. It also helps in the elongation of nodes and internodes. The third category is the lateral meristem that present on the sides of the stem as well as the root, and that is why it increases the girth of stem and girth of roots. The diameter or the girth of the stem and girth of the root. So, this is the short description about the three different types of meristem depending on the regions where it present or the origin. Depending on the origin, it mainly of three types which you have seen here. An important type of plant tissue is the permanent tissues. The word permanent, what does it mean? Actually, earlier what we have seen, the meristems. the cells always divide. When the cells divide, and after division, when the tissue got a permanent shape, a permanent size, and perform a permanent function, that is the permanent tissue. That means permanent tissues are also derived from the meristems. When the cells of the meristems got a permanent shape, when the cells of the meristems got a permanent size, and when the cells of the meristems got a permanent job, that means it is the differentiation. This is known as the differentiation, and that means the meristems, the permanent derived from the meristems. So these are group of cells which are derived from the meristematic tissues and have lost their ability to divide. Whenever they have lost the ability to divide, that means now they have got a permanent shape, size, and a permanent job in the plant body, and that will form a permanent tissue. That is why the definition of the permanent tissue is very clear, and from this definition we may conclude the nature of the permanent tissue. Now, in the earlier meristematic tissue and their characteristic features, we have studied this one in our previous class, and in the previous class I have also told you and give you suggestion that when you will write a notes on tissue, then the first point in regard to the writing note is the introduction or the definition, and the second one is the structure, and if there will be any type, then that is step, and if there will be no type, then the function. So here there are also type, that's why we have to discuss the type also, and first now look about the characteristic features of this type of tissue. Look here, the characteristic features. Actually I want you should compare with meristems, then you will get some important points in regard to the characteristics of the permanent. Characteristics of the permanent. Why I have suggested that you may compare this with meristem. How you will compare? If in your memory the points which are related with the characteristic features of the meristems or the structure of the meristem, then may you easily compare it. Like when you are talking about the meristems, the first point may you write the cells always divides. Here what you will write? The cells no more divide. There will be no division of the cell. There will be no cell division. And this tissue is composed of such type of cells. It is a cluster of such type of cells that cannot be divided. That is the when you will compare. Like you have seen in the case of the meristems, there are dense cytoplasm, there are prominent nucleus, there are absence of vacuoles, there are no intercellular spaces, Similarly, here one by one, if those points picked up by you, and may you try to write the points in those points and compare with the permanent, then you will get a complete characteristic features of the permanent. How? May I write here? The cell does not divide. Number one, the cells are living or dead. Like number 3, there are presence of intercellular spaces. There are presence or absence, sorry, there are presence or maybe absence of intercellular spaces. Now, number 4th, there are presence of vacuoles. May you also can write here in this way, it is the mistake here. There are presence or absence also, sorry, there are presence or absence of intercellular spaces. No, regarding vacuole, we are talking about regarding vacuoles. So, there are presence or absence of vacuoles. So, these are the number 4. Number 5th, here I have written the cells of permanent tissues are differentiated and have definite shape related to the function. It is already, I have told you that from the meristematic tissue it is derived, and how it differentiate when the tissue lost the ability of division and got a permanent shape, size and perform a permanent job. That means it is the permanent tissue. The cells may have a thin or thick wall. In case of the living, the wall is thin. In case of the dead cell, the wall is thick, as because it consists of both living or the dead cells. The nucleus is absent in dead cells and present in the living cells, but the size is a smaller one. So, these are the some facts regarding the different characteristic features of the permanent tissue. In the classification of the plant, you have already seen what are the different types of permanent tissue. Once again, I am going to repeat here those type which are included in your syllabus, and you must know and describe those type, like permanent tissues and its type. Depending on the type of cells present, depending on the type of cells present, it is mainly of two types. It is mainly of two types. Number 1, simple permanent tissue, and number 2 complex permanent tissue. The simple permanent tissue divided on the basis of such type of cells which are similar in origin, and this similar in origin, shape, size, function, etc., and this complex permanent tissue are composed with the different types of cells. Now, we have seen that permanent tissue classified mainly into two categories. The first one here, the simple permanent tissues, this and the complex permanent tissue. Only a single type of cells compose this type of tissue. Simple permanent tissues are made up of one kind of cells which are similar in origin, structure and functions. Now, what are its type and which are included in your syllabus? Those will be discussed. Now, the types of simple permanent tissue. Types of simple permanent tissue. Permanent tissue. From the supporting view of point, it is mainly of three types. What are these three types? Number one, parenchyma. Number 2, collenchyma. And number 3, sclerenchyma. And from the second classification, from the view of point, from the protection view of point, it is of two types. Number 1, epidermis, and number 2, cork. So, this is the further classification of simple permanent tissue. Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, all are these three related with the supporting or mechanical strength, as well other functions also, like it has the packaging function, that is the supporting view of point, storage functions. When these parenchyma cells possess chlorophyll, then it can also perform the function of photosynthesis. It is mainly related and present in those parts which are bending parts of the, which always maybe the twig or the branches which always bend, and it will provide strength to that bending parts of the plant, and this is mainly composed of the dead cells, and it is also the provide the mechanical strength or the support. So, here these are some 3 different types depending upon the supporting, that is why I have written here in the classification chart which given to you in the previous classes. At that time I also given you an idea about this type of classification, and again I have repeated these things. Now, in the next classes we will learn one by one about the structure, function and the locations of all these tissues.